If you walked out of 2025 saying, thank God I made it through, but I don't want to repeat my 2026 year in the same way. I'm honest with myself, 2025 kind of beat me up a little bit. And this year, I want to do things differently. This year, I'm grateful to be standing, but I want to actually see progression. I want to see growth this year. If that's you, then this video is for you. In this video, we're going to look at a framework because a lot of people, as they start the new year, they jump in with all the things that we're told we should do, the vision board, setting goals, uh, journaling, having vision board parties, all of that good stuff. That's all important. The seminars, the conferences, all important. But if not put in the right place, then it's going to lead to you repeating the same type of year you had last year. So, what do we actually need this year to have measurable, consistent growth, whatever it is, whether it's in your career, whether it's your health, whether it's in your relationships? What are the things that you actually need? Well, I'm going to break it down in this video in a simple four-part structure, right? A simple four-part framework, which is PSSQ. PSSQ. All right. So really simple. The first letter of this, and before I even jump into this, let me say that this is not feel good video, fluff video. This is about actually doing the work. So this is for you. You likely already have a pretty decent career going. You have a decent hustle going, but you're looking, how do I elevate that? So if you are already serious about the way that you handle life, you handle your business, then this video is for you. So again, this is not about just getting clicks. This is about actually doing the work and really being serious about taking your life to that next level. So the first letter in this framework, let's dive right into it, is simply the importance of having a plan. The importance of having a plan. I'm a big believer in the Bible story or the Bible saying that people perish for lack of vision. If you don't have a plan in place, if you don't have a vision of where you want to take your life, of where you want to go, then it's impossible to get there. Yeah, I've been using an analogy for years that says if you jump into your car in New York City and say, I want to head west to California and specifically, let's say, San Bernardino, if you do that, if you get into the car and start driving west, start driving towards the sun or away from, I don't know, there is no guarantee that you're actually going to get there unless you have a specific destination or at least a city, a town, something that you put into a GPS or that you even look up on a map. Then you might find yourself down in Florida. You might find yourself up in Maine. You might find yourself in Canada. You cannot just assume that I'm going to follow this. So having a plan, having a vision for where you want to go is the starting point to a successful year. And again, this might be where the goal setting, the vision board come in. Lots of different ways to do it, but that's just the start. So just like anything else, again, just like the rest of the system, if we just stop there, then you're wondering why. Okay, I have this vision for where I want to go, but now it's taking me ages to get there. I'm not getting there as quickly as I would like, or I keep encountering the same obstacles, the same challenges. Right? Going back to that analogy, it's like having that vision, that plan for getting there. You run into a roadblock and then you're stuck. You're stopped, or you maybe run to a roadblock and do some detours, go around, but find yourself coming back to that same roadblock. So you have to also have the other three letters here that are what you're going to do in the case of hitting roadblocks that you definitely, I shouldn't say in the case that you definitely will hit as you go on your journey. You know, if you, there's Jim Rohn would always say, like, the good book says, right? The good book, the Bible says, right from the beginning in Genesis, they talk about God creating order, right? Before God brought all of the plants, the trees, animals, and eventually man into being in earth, what did he do first? He actually imposed structure. He brought order out of chaos. So in the beginning, he creates heaven and earth, then light and darkness, then day and night, and then he divides the waters above and below. And so this was God establishing boundaries, setting boundaries before bringing in living beings, creatures, plant life, food, all those things onto the earth. And so this is the same thing that we want to do. Once we have our plan, we want to now establish boundaries, establish order out of chaos, so that way we can actually now bring life into our lives. So what does that mean? Bring about the things we want to see, bring about success, bring about growth, right? But first we must establish boundaries, order. And so that next S for us in our PSSQ framework is going to be our structure. So the S, or the first S, next letter, is our structure. What is the structure that you need in your life to be able to, again, start to flourish in your life? Structure determines scale. So if you take the analogy of a house, for instance, uh, most people, if I were to ask you what's your dream home, you likely can describe how many rooms are in the home. You could probably tell me what paint color would be inside, outside. If you have a pool in the backyard, does it have a finished basement? Do you have a finished roof or attic? But how many of you could tell me what the dimensions of the foundation framing are? How many of you could tell me what type of nails they use in the foundation? How many of you could tell me where your key pillars are in the home that prevent the home from falling down? Most people couldn't, and it's okay. It's not judgment. I couldn't tell you this in my house, but these are the details that matter most, right? It's these details that prevent the house from collapsing on you and your family. It's not the paint colors. It's not whether or not you have a pool in the backyard. It's not how many rooms you have, right? But it's the details that went into the building of the home that matter most in terms of safety. If you don't have those details correct, then all of that other stuff can't come into place. It's the same thing with your car or your favorite car. Maybe you have a dream car. It's the same thing. We see all of the things that make it appealing to us, but how many people could tell you what type of metal they use in the frame of the car, or what the dimensions are of the engine or the torque, right? Like, really, I'm not talking about like how many horsepower. I'm talking about what the dimensions and the piston shapes and sizes, all those things, how they work together. But it's those details that make the car truly valuable, truly powerful. And so most of us in our lives, we are trying to, we're trying to create a mansion. We're trying to pull in mansion-like qualities into our lives, but we are operating on the framework of a studio apartment, and we don't even realize it. So before we can again focus on all of the amenities, we have to look at what are the details that matter most, the structure that are going to allow and give me the capacity this year for what I want God to bring to my life, for what I'm trying to manifest. So ask yourself, right, what structure, what boundaries do I need to set? It's, as an example, when you look at getting in shape, health and fitness, right? It's as important, if not more important, to focus on what you need to remove from your life than it is for what you need to add into your life. Like, personally, this year I've got some health goals, and I've been an average gym goer since the age of 15. I've like done very small competitions. I've been in really great shape, been in really bad shape, and I'd probably say I'm in average shape. But one thing that I know how to do is how to work out. I know how to move weight. I know how to do calisthenics, and like I can do all of that really well. But what I realized is that, over the last year or so, where I've been kind of not hitting my goals as it comes to health and fitness, I'm like, I've been focusing more on how to tweak my workouts, or like what combination of exercises I'm going to be doing. Am I going to be doing more of this, less of this? When in fact, I need to be looking at, well, what are the things that I need to remove that are hindering, that are in the way of me getting the results that I want to get? Like, how's my sleep? How's my diet? How's my water intake? Those things, like, where can I remove and tweak rather than just looking to simply focusing on the areas where I'm already strong. And so it's the same thing for our lives and adding structure, right? Going back to the example in Genesis, God separated the firmament. He, essentially the heaven from the earth. He separated land from sea. Like, there was separation, there was movement, there was structure imposed that then allowed for, gave space for those things to be created, for man to come in, for trees, for animals, and all that to be created. So structure is where we're looking at, you know, there's another Bible verse that I love. Always love this one, and I forget. This is said by one of the prophets, right? I remember the story vaguely. Like, working on nothing I'm working on this year is just diving back deeper into my Bible. But I know it was a prophet, one of the prophets. And in this story, the people are complaining. There's a drought. The people are complaining. They're begging the prophet to intercede on their behalf. Pray to God to bring rain. Pray to God bring the rain. Pray to God bring the rain. And the prophet goes on their behalf to God, and God says, "Tell the people to dig the ditches, and I will send the rain. Like, dig the ditches, and I will send the rain." So I was like, oh, that's so powerful. I've always loved this verse because what he's saying, prepare for what it is that you are asking me for. Prepare for what you're asking me for. You're asking for rain, but can you hold the rain that I'm going to send? Because when I send it, I'm going to send it. And so this is what we need to look at in our lives. We're praying for more money. We're praying for a better relationship. But can you hold more money in your life? Can you hold a better relationship? Are you the type of person that the person you would want to be with? You know, are you the type of person that knows how to manage wealth responsibly? Are you the type of person that could really lead a team of employees? Like we're asking for our business to flourish, but could you really lead a team of employees? Or would it crush you? Would it crush your relationship? So these are the real questions we need to start asking in 2026 so that way we can prepare ourselves for the thing that we want to see come into our lives. Okay, good. Moving on to the next S, the third letter in our framework, systems. So we have plan, we have structure, and now we have systems. Okay? So systems are where we really start to make it real. Again, similar again, that using that same framework or that same analogy there, dig the ditches before the rain comes. We want to have the systems in place before that thing comes into our lives. So going to your business, if it is for you to have your business grow or even to have your career grow, what systems do you have in place to manage more tasks? What systems are you going to put in place to have to manage more people? Uh, in my work that I do, I'm a resilience coach, communication coach. In addition to that, I'm also a director of coach development where I manage essentially about 35 coaches. And one of the biggest learning curves for me over the last year and a half has been systems. It's all about systems, right? You can have the charisma, you can have the personality, you can have the leadership ability, but if you don't have the right systems in place, you're going to be behind. If you have the right systems in place, you are going to let people down or not meet the expectations of your role. And so having those right systems in place make all the difference. So what systems do you need to put in place to ensure that when your motivation is gone, that you still get it done, right? The beautiful thing about planning out your week, even though it can feel a bit regimented, is that let's say with health and fitness, if I decide that for the next 3 months my workout plan is going to be Monday I'm doing chest, Tuesday I'm doing legs, Wednesday I'm doing shoulders and back, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, when I've just gotten off a flight and I'm tired or I've had to stay up late the night before working on a project and I don't feel like necessarily doing legs, well, guess what? I don't have to decide that, right? Because I already decided 3 weeks ago that on Tuesday I would be doing legs. And so maybe I, go a little bit lighter weight, or maybe I add or vary exercise. Be careful because, right, we don't want to let our feelings, our emotions determine our effort. But I don't have to decide, oh, what am I going to do today? What am I in the mood today? No, I'm going to go by the system. I'm going to adhere to the system, and therefore it's going to yield the result that I want. So, what systems? And your systems are more than that. It's your schedules, it's your routines, it's the triggers that you set in place. By triggers, I mean it can be setting an alarm on your phone, like a routine alarm that every day at 6 p.m. it pops up to post on Instagram. It can be checklists that you have in place, daily checklists, like have them where you need to have them for the activity that you need to have them. It can be building the habit of setting out your workout clothes the night before, so that way in the morning you wake up, put on those workout clothes, go to the gym. So our systems turn our intention into reality. And here's a line to remember: if it's not scheduled, it's not real. We have to go from this place of having this just idea, this fantasy. And again, as much as I'm not saying journaling is not important, not saying visualization, it's not important, meditation. I am a huge supporter of those practices. But without actual scheduling, without actually creating triggers, alarms, check ins for yourself, different ways to, I should say, checklists for yourself, different ways to ensure that you're getting the task done that will lead to the fulfillment of this greater outcome. Without that, then you're living in la la land. So we have to make sure we put those things in place to hit and achieve the actual goals that we want. And the last part of this framework, so far let's look at what we have. We have plan, we have structure, and we have our systems. The last part is framework. And before I give it to you, let me kind of give you some more background of where the content or concept of this video came from. Excuse me. as I was reading the Bible towards the end of last year, kind of just reviewing some of where it all began, which is in Genesis, right? It dawned on me that there was a structure here that really shows up in life, especially for those who live life well. It talks about in the Bible, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We talked about this earlier in this video. God separated the firmament from the heavens. I'm probably not putting it in perfect order. God separated the land from the sea. This was God, one, first starting with an intention, right, to create, and then structure came into place. There was separation, boundaries were put into place. Then there were systems put into place. Eventually, that came. But even before that, because if we take each day as a separate creation, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Um, what happens at the end of the day before God rests? It says, and God looked and God saw it was good, right? So I was like, that's interesting, right? God's, again, one, he didn't create everything at once. There was intention behind why he did. And I believe part of that was because he knew he was leaving a blueprint in how he did it and how we would live our lives. But there was also this aspect of him looking to see that the thing was good. And so I've heard Myron Golden say there's this aspect of doing today's work today, but then there's this aspect of doing a quality check that we see God doing here. God looked and saw it was good. And this wasn't God just like, this isn't a poetic phrase. This is an example of God evaluating, not judging it, but just evaluating, reviewing, reflecting on the work that he done. And maybe it's not said there, but maybe then adjusting the next day as he approached his work. And so for us, that last part of this framework for living a successful 2026 is our quality check, right? It's our quality check at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the quarter. Don't not wait until the end of the year. You see, we all naturally do it at the end of the year. Like there's this kind of slowdown in the world. A lot of people are either on break from work where the company shuts down, or they take time off, or again, business is just slower. So we kind of come to this more reflective point. That's great, but we need to be intentional about creating those points in time throughout the year so that way we can do this quality check, we can reflect, we can evaluate what we've done, we can evaluate what hasn't been done. Again, not from a self-judgment or guilt point of view, but instead to evaluate, well, what were the things that were in my way, the obstacles or the challenges that maybe I wasn't so good at managing, but they're going to show up again. They're going to show up next week. They're going to show up next quarter. And if I don't evaluate, then I can't adjust for when they show up again. And so that's what this quality check is, why it's so important. In Napoleon's book, Outwitting the Devil, he talks about having a conversation there with the devil, and him kind of explaining why it's so easy to bring man down and most men down, and so easy to get them off of their goals. And he calls those people drifters, right? The drifter, if you think like a visual for you, think about being in a pool. Like you get on like a donut floaty in the pool, right? And you're laying there. Maybe you start up by the steps, and if you're just kind of laying there enjoying the sun, before you know it, you drifted to the other side of the pool. And if you can't swim, then you might start freaking out. You drifted down to the deep end. But the idea is the same thing of a boat in the ocean or a lake. That if there's no sail up, there's no motor, no anchor down, that boat's going to drift, right? It's just like us with our goals. If there's no anchor, if there's no check-in, no awareness, then before you know it, you're gonna drift, right? Before you know it, it's like, you have this goal for losing 20 pounds, then you miss a day, then you miss 2 days, the next week you don't go because work's too busy, the next week you don't go because the kids have a whole bunch of things going on. And before you know it, you've drifted from that goal. And it's been 2 months since you've been to the gym. Or you say, like, this year I want a better relationship with my loved one, with my spouse, my partner, and this week this argument goes unchecked. This week you like don't do anything nice. Before you know it, no date nights have happened for a month or two. Before you know it, you haven't said I love you for like 3 months, and you've drifted away from this intention that you set. As well meaning as the intention is or was, as much as you wanted it, but because there was no check and no quality check happening, you just drift. So I don't want that for you in 2026. I don't want you just drifting. And so you have to implement and install a quality check system for yourself. um, whether that's, again, weekly, whether it's monthly. For me, it's a daily check-in at the end of the night. I might journal down, okay, like what was good about today, what are 3 things that I'm happy or proud of today? What are a couple of things that I missed? Sometimes I don't get to the journal. I just end up in bed. I'm tired, and instead, then I just think about it for a moment. But most definitely, there's a weekly, whether it's a Sunday morning or Sunday night quality check-in activity. Could be 30 minutes, could be an hour. It's just some type of, again, check-in to see where am I drifting. If you think of a flight path or you think of a pilot flying a plane, that pilot, their main, like one of their main jobs, like, is keeping the plane on course, right? That plane is rarely on course to its destination. A flight going from New York to Cali, if that pilot is just letting it go where it wants to go, like without adjusting or without the autopilot system adjusting, then even though the intention and they had the machinery, they had the equipment that could take them to Cali, they might end up in Mexico. They might end up in Antarctica somewhere. And it's not because the plane is faulty, it's because there was no course correction happening. So for you, it's like you have the intention, you have the tools, you have the capabilities, but if you're not checking in, if you're not quality checking your work daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, then you will drift away from your destination. So to review, this year, so that way you're not repeating 2026, so that way this year you are achieving your goals, you are making forward progress, you are truly living into your capabilities, you are returning stronger this year. You are going to ensure that, one, there is a clear plan, a clear destination in place. Two, there's structure, there are boundaries. The things that don't need to be there are being removed or have been removed. If I need to do more of a thing, it's put in place. There's clear structure. There's a distinction between structure and systems now. The systems are, what are the routines, what are the triggers, what are the tools that you will use to keep you on track, to keep you honest with yourself, to measure what you've been doing. And then finally, quality check is reviewing those systems, reviewing the activity, and having a planned quality check moment, weekly, monthly, quarterly. But don't wait for that yearly check-in, because if you wait for the year, then it's like it's too late, right? I believe that if we do this right, we shouldn't be surprised about hitting our goals, that we hit a certain revenue. We shouldn't be surprised that we lost the weight. We shouldn't be surprised that our relationship is as good as it is, because again, if you've been checking in, if you've been doing these things, then you should see it coming from months away. So this year, again, wishing you that 2026 is your best year yet. Return stronger this year. It's not about being louder. It's not about being busier. It's not about more chaos and more things to manage. This will all simplify your life. This will all help you to be more aligned, to help you feel more stable, to be more intentional this year. And so I hope this video was valuable for you. Got a lot of great stuff coming this year as I really look to branch out. What does it mean to return strong? What does it mean to have more resiliency? What does it mean to step into an identity that allows for the true transformation that we want in our lives? And so, again, hope this video was valuable for you. I'll see you in the next one.